Hey there guys, MCB here, and today we're going to be playing some Minecraft Invaded Lands KitPvP. Today's video is going to be a guide type video. We're going to be doing a PvP tutorial today, and of course some of these strategies are going to be very helpful on other servers, but it is just adapted mainly for Invaded Lands KitPvP. Feel free to use them wherever you'd like. I would suggest trying to get a little bit of experience with everything here. You don't have to be great at everything, but if you can get a little bit of experience on every single part, you can become a very, very good PvPer. So I'm going to be splitting this up into 5 sections, and then each section is going to have many parts, and basically there's going to be the sprint resets, which is stuff like W tapping and S tapping. There's going to be the usage of projectiles, there's going to be your movement, there's going to be your speed and how to go faster, and then there's going to be just miscellaneous tips that can be very helpful to you. Without further ado though, let's get straight into the video. So we will be starting with W tapping, which is one of the oldest and probably the most well-known form of sprint reset. Now this is very, very simple. Now basically how this works is when using sprint key and you're holding W down, occasionally let go of W to stop moving forward and then press it again. And people say you have to time it. I found really, like, it works either way. You don't have to time it, you can time it, and it usually will be more effective if you time it, but you can literally just spam the W button and, I mean, it'll still work, because it's still getting the job done, it's still resetting your sprint. You just have to make sure that you're actually moving forward enough to continue hitting them. W tapping is probably the easiest of the sprint resets, so I would definitely suggest that anybody that does not already know how to do any of these, start off with W tap and then maybe move on to block hit, assuming you're 1.8 or earlier, and later on you can try the more advanced ones. S tapping is basically the cousin of W tap, and it works very, very similarly. Instead of letting go of W though, you just press S. S tapping, from what I've heard and in my personal experience, is very effective when you or your opponent has very high ping. So if you're in a high ping fight and you need something to save you, you know, you're down by like 5 pots, or they're not grappled and you're on cooldown, S tapping is definitely something that you can try. Next up we have block hitting, and this is my personal preferred method of choice, and block hitting is very simple. However, it only works on 1.8.9 and earlier. I believe in the 1.9 combat update they completely removed block hitting and they replaced it with shield. But block hitting can do a lot of different things. So of course it is a sprint reset, and what a sprint reset does, for those of you that do not know, is that it resets your sprint, causing you to deal more knockback, because in 1.6 I believe they changed it so that the first hit of your sprint deals more knockback than the other hits. So when you're constantly resetting your sprint, you're going to be resetting your knockback and dealing more, which is better, A, to keep them in combos, and B, if you're in a game mode with a void, such as Bed Wars or Sky Wars, it can be very useful. Regardless, not only does it reset your sprint, causing you to deal more knockback and get easier combos, but block hitting can also make you take less damage, because of course you're blocking. So assuming they hit you while you're blocking, you're going to be taking less damage. This is the reason why people block hit in 1x1 areas. This one is very, very, very easy. You just have to click left and right click at the same time, or in between each other. Really, either way works. Just make sure that your hits are actually going through, because I've seen some people that are new to block hitting, aka like my brother, not being able to actually hit because they are either not lifting their fingers up enough or they are pressing the right button too much. So take a little bit of time, spend it on some practice with block hitting, and I promise you, you will not regret it. And lastly is shift tap. Now, to be completely honest with you, shift tap isn't really taken serious by a lot of PvPers. It's kind of like that weird uncle at the family reunion. Like, everybody knows that they're there, but nobody knows who they are or why they're there or what they're doing. Shift tap can actually be pretty overpowered. To be completely honest, I've tried it. It can be overpowered. I've seen it actively used on one single server and one single game mode, which is Hypixel Sumo. Almost all of the leaderboard players I've ever fought on Hypixel Sumo use shift tapping, and for good reason, because it is insanely overpowered, especially for straight lining, which we will be mentioning later. Anyways, all you do is, and this one does require timing. I've tried spamming it like you can do with W tap and block hitting. It does not work, like, at all whatsoever. But for this one, you're going to want to time your shifts basically just before you hit the player, and in the typical fashion of sprint resets, it's going to be dealing more knockback, as well as you're also going to be lower than the player. And for those of you that don't know, in Minecraft physics, when you're lower than a player, you actually get more reach. Feel free to try this on like ladders, for example. Somebody that's under you on a ladder might be able to hit you, and you might not be able to hit them. It has something to do with the way that Minecraft calculates reach, which, if I remember correctly, is from your head to the middle of your opponent's body. Now for the projectiles. Of course, we're going to start off with the bow, which is the, main projectile of Minecraft. Now it has a variety of uses. The most obvious, of course, is to shoot a player from long range to deal a lot of damage. However, there are a few other uses that can be very, very useful, especially in PvP. Currently, we're going to be talking about bow tricking. Very similar to rod tricking. Essentially, what you do is you fire a low-powered bow shot. It's almost always going to be low-powered because you're not going to have enough time to charge it all the way up. Regardless, you're going to want to bow them when they get close to you. They're going to be hit up in the air, and then you're going to be able to get a combo. The reason why you're able to get a combo is because they're moved back on their screen, and usually they're going to be moved upwards as well. And as I talked about earlier with the shift tap, when you're slightly below someone, you're going to be able to get slightly more reach than they do. So when they're moved backwards and they're not able to move forwards to hit you anymore, and they're above you, meaning that you're going to get more reach, it can be very, very, very easy to get a nice combo on them, as you see in this clip here, which is very, very slow so that I can actually put this commentary over it. Now, next up is rods. I was going to do a clip of Invaded Lands, but I'm not even joking. I could not find a single person that had a rod or that would PvP me. It's just, nobody. Everyone just left me alone. It's just like, it did not happen. It was not gonna happen. Rods are one of the most well-known forms of PvP manipulation, and basically, all you do is you throw the fishing rod out, you hit them, it moves them backwards, and you can usually get a combo because they're not able to move forwards to hit you anymore, but you still are, unless, they rod you back. However, rods are not exclusively used for combos. You can also use them to keep people back, and that is usually called rod spam. It can be very annoying, but it can be very, very effective, and it has won me many a fight. Also worth noting are snowballs and eggs. Eggs are not present in Invaded, at least as far as I know, and snowballs are pretty rare and expensive and not super useful. However, in other game modes such as Sky Wars, eggs and snowballs are very, very common and very, very useful. And actually, I prefer snowballs and eggs to rods or bows. Even though bows do damage and they place your enemy higher up, and so it's easier for a combo, snowballs are able to be spammed much more, and usually you don't need a lot of timing or preparation, which you would need for a rod or a bow shot. So now we move on to the movement section. Haha, get it? Good pun. Anyways, we're going to be starting off with jumping. Now, I know that sounds very, very simple. Everyone underestimates it, okay? Nobody jumps enough in PvP. I'm being completely serious here. When you hit someone, when you're coming down from a jump, you're actually going to be dealing more damage because you're going to get criticals every single time because that's how Minecraft works. It can be very helpful to dodge hits because if somebody is looking at the lower half of your body and you jump over them, then they're not going to be able to hit. If you're healing and you're pretty low on health, you don't want them to get a lot of hits on you or to get you into a combo, jump right as they come in to hit you. They're going to be dealing a lot more knockback. You're going to be going farther away, usually far enough that they aren't going to be able to hit you a second or third time, so it's very, very good for evading combos. Alright, up next is the age-old debate of strafing versus straightlining. Now, these are both pretty simple to understand, how they work. Straightlining is, as it says in the name, moving in a straight line, whereas strafing, you're going to be moving A and D, left and right, maybe even back sometimes. Straightlining tends to be the easiest to do because you don't have to really do much special movement, but strafing can be a lot more effective. Now, what I found personally, and this is just in my experience, is that straight lining is easiest when you're block hitting, but it's the most effective when you are shift tapping. S-tap is like a really, really, really close second. Now, strafing, which in my opinion is the more effective of the two, is easiest when you're W tapping, but it's definitely most effective when you are S tapping. However, it takes a long time to master S-tapping and strafing, and a lot of the time you're just going to be outside of the range of your opponent and you're not going to be able to hit them. So I would highly suggest that you guys practice with W-tap or block hit, as they tend to be the two easiest, and once you're comfortable with W-tapping and block hitting while using strafe or straight line, then try to transition over to the more difficult ones like S-tapping and shift tapping. Alright, and this is one that I'm kind of just adding in last minute, but it doesn't really require much of a detailed explanation. When someone gets you in a combo and they're hitting you backwards, just press S and move backwards. It'll move you outside of the combo. They aren't going to get as many hits. Don't be afraid to do this and move yourself away from them. Usually it's a really good way to reset the fight, sort of, if that makes sense. You have an equal chance of getting a combo, whereas when you're already in a combo, not really going to happen. Now next up is the bow boosting and bow flying, and technically these are two parts, but I'm just going to put them together because they involve the same mechanism and they're very, very similar. Now you've already probably seen me do bow boosting in earlier clips that I've already recorded. It's very simple. All you do is you charge your bow barely when you pull it back, you let go while you're moving forward, and usually you're going to want to jump. You can do it while not jumping, but it doesn't push you as far, and jumping, as you can see, is going to push you much, much farther, and is a very good way to run away from fights, to catch up on other people that are running away from fights. Now the other part of this is bow flying, which is essentially just a lot of bow boosts chained together, and you just, while you are midair, you're going to do it again. I can only do, usually 2 or 3 at a time, but there are people that you can do, 5, 6, 7. It really just depends on, how high up you are and how much practice you get at doing it. And I don't really have a reason to bow fly, but a lot of people that are PvPing with better gear definitely do. And this can be done with a punch 1 or a punch 2. Now, of course, the last part of the speed section is speed itself. So if you can get yourself a speed pot, and I will see if I can find one here so I can actually show you what these look like. A normal speed pot, what you're going to want to do for the optimum fastest way of moving is you are still going to want to jump. Running and jumping, as most people know, is the fastest way to move in Minecraft as opposed to just doing it like this. However, when you drink a speed 2 pot, if you're running and jumping with speed 2, you're actually going to be losing speed. So when you have speed 2 enabled, you're going to want to just run flat, whereas when you have speed 1, you are going to want to be running and jumping. And of course, if you're trying to use this, tactically, then it can definitely be useful to jump with a speed 2 potion going, but otherwise, it's just going to make you go slower. And finally, we have the final miscellaneous section. This is going to be very brief. We're just going to quickly go over inventory organization, accounting for ping, and types of special clicking. So first off, inventory organization. This is the way that I always organize my inventory. I would put a rod here, notch apple here, and then these 3 slots would probably be for potions. So usually that would be speed, poison, and harming, at least on Invaded. On other servers, it might be different. Inventory organization is not the most important thing in PvP, but it can be pretty darn important because assuming you're trying to fight somebody and you don't know where your sword is, or if you're low on health and you don't know where your healing is, then you're probably gonna die. Now, next up, accounting for ping. This is basically just gonna cover rods, swords, and bows. So first things first, when you're using bows, obviously you're gonna want to shoot a little bit further in front of them because that is how bow shooting works, even with low ping. But yeah, you might want to shoot a little bit further because a lot of the time they're going to teleport back, or your bow shot is going to be delayed, or something along those lines. For bow boosting, you're going to want to hold it back a little bit more. So for example, I have low ping, so I would do it like this. However, if you had high ping, you might want to do it something like this. You're really just going to have to test and see which works best for you. For rodding, once again, just like bows, you're going to want to rod a little bit further in front because, as mentioned before, it's probably going to be a bit delayed and they could always lag forward as well. Now for swords, ping is taken into account in a bit of a different way. As I mentioned before, S-tap can be very helpful when you have high ping, so you might want to try that out and see if you can get any good results with that. But once you've practiced and know how to actually abuse your ping, you can get insane combos, because if you have high ping or your opponent has high ping, basically things are going to be delayed, meaning that you can have them stay off or on your screen for a little bit longer, which means that you could get a few more hits or even get them into a combo, depending on how well you play. But that's really about it, so I will see you all in the outro. So that is going to be it for the video, boys. I hope y'all very much enjoyed. It's been a while since I've been making tutorials like this, and I think I want to get back into it. As I mentioned in the start of the video, I might have edited it out. I don't know yet. I have like an odd schedule that I'm thinking about for Invaded Lands, which would include guides and streams and challenges and chill PvP, just kind of like in a cycle, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that, assuming I actually start to do it. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the guide, if it helped you out, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more helpful guides and, just casual Invaded Lands, okay? Subscribe for more Invaded Lands and also other things, and like the video if I helped you out and you enjoyed it. Yeah, that's really it. So I'll see you all in my next episode of Invaded Lands KitPvP, and yeah, guys, peace.